maybe 4 years into this war, but there's a real sense of urgency.
The real game changer is real of our nation.
Completely surrounded by anti-drone nets. Above ground it was very, very hectic, and I'll be honest, I stopped counting the explosions when they got into double figures. Despite all the bombings, the explosions, the continuous alarms, the threat of danger, life obviously goes on.
Кулачок. Мріємо, щоб все це скоріше закінчилося і наші дітки були в безпеці.
There's a storm of ballistic missiles heading towards Kyiv. The streets are deserted, but we're above ground, without cover. One can't stay here, so we speed on. The first wave of missiles have hit.
Be careful.
We navigate through the rubble, strewn over one of the city's main roads in the heart of the Ukrainian capital.
If you guys want to jump out, so the vehicle's on it, you know, get your helmets.
Through the darkness, we pull up and head to the sanctuary of an underground station. We're amongst the last to get here. Subterranean life is part of normal life for Ukraine now. We descend into a Soviet-era metro, built over 60 years ago and designed to withstand a nuclear war. Decades on, in their tens of thousands, they come seeking shelter from the deadly aerial assaults on the surface. The old and the young, whole families, with pets included, huddled together or sleeping in tents. Some for the night, others until the all clear is sounded. Some are relaxed, others are just plain scared. They're safe here, but they don't know what's happening above them. But there's an air of calm down here because we are very, very deep underground and people are sleeping. I have to say that above ground it was very, very hectic, and I'll be honest, I stopped counting the explosions when they got into double figures. By morning we'll get to know exactly what has happened to the city. But what mustn't be forgotten by anyone is this has been going on for years now. In this modern metropolitan city of Kyiv and cities across the country, people are having to come underground pretty much every night, year after year. Anton, do you always come down when the sirens are going?
Не завжди. Коли чутно, що поруч десь бахкає, тоді так страшно, приходиться спускатися.
So have you got used to telling the noise level? Have you got sort of you actually have a good understanding of how bad it is?
Особливо, коли починається відчуття не тільки звука, ще коли будинок сам вібрує, тоді точно потрібно тікати.
The bombing keeps people up through the night. The Russian aim is to break their resolve. It's not working.
Этот народ украинский – это кремень. Это кремень. Он выдержит все. Вот это. Его согнуть невозможно. Этот народ. И они должны там в Москве знать. Что бы они ни делали, они никогда не поломают этот народ.
As the threat level drops, they head back to the surface. Carrying their belongings, heading home, alive, Another night lost to the Russian blitz. Smoke from the night's barrage hangs heavily over the city. Slowly drifting past the skyline of beautiful churches and cathedrals that are the essence of Kyiv and its ancient past. In many ways, symbols of its endurance over the ages. It isn't really much safer, but in the daylight it feels like it is. Perhaps it's the presence of people going about their normal lives. And even in this time of war, people go sightseeing in the nation's capital. A magnificent overwatch of the Dnipro River. I stood on this spot the day that the Russian invasion began in February 2022. 4.5 years later, it's still raging on. A short distance away in the Maidan Square, a memorial to the fallen, which began with a few pictures and flags, is now testament to the terrible cost of this war. Every time I visit, the number of flags that represent a lost life grows. Families tend to each tiny spot that will be forever an enduring reminder of their sacrifice and a pledge never to forget them. Daily, life and death in Ukraine go hand in hand. Many of us outside Ukraine may not realize that the war isn't only taking place on a distant front line far to the eastern edges of this huge country. It's a nationwide battle fought day and night across Ukraine. On the streets in a bustling marketplace, fruit and vegetables are bought and sold in a scene of perfect normality. But look around them. The market is in the midst of bombed-out buildings and fallen masonry. The covered market was ravaged by fire from a nighttime air raid. But the market traders were back the next day. Life simply has to carry on here. The reminders of a country at war are everywhere one goes. Paraphernalia of the battlefield, playgrounds for children enjoying an evening walk with their parents. On rooftop bars in the early evening, the young remind everyone that despite the war, a generation that could themselves become part of the war are still trying to have fun, at least while they can. As the night draws in, the people prepare for what now seems another inevitable round of missile strikes. The haunting sound of the air raid sirens wail across Kyiv. It's soon followed by the sounds of explosions. The noise ricocheting off buildings, so it's impossible to know where it's hit unless you can see the explosion itself. The dwindling supply of interceptors sketch crazy patterns in the sky as they hunt their targets. Once heavily defended, the capital is now vulnerable to Russian ballistic missiles, like all Ukrainian cities. It's an easy target now. Emergency crews are already on site looking for casualties and assessing the damage. We've returned to the daytime market area, this time at night though. It's been struck. Collateral damage to the adjacent metro. That's now a mess of shattered glass and debris. The all clear has sounded, but it's still dangerous. People slowly emerge from underground to survey the damage. Some with powerful torches wander along the streets looking at the results of the attack. The missile smashed into an underground walkway, leaving a huge crater. And the whole street is littered with debris. Well, this area gets hit quite a lot. We were here 2 or 3 days ago. People take shelter in the underground, and it's why there's quite a small number of casualties, civilian casualties, but it's been hit again. We were going to join the people, but it had been hit before we actually arrived here. People aren't used to this. It's just this continuous part of daily life that their metros and their shops can get blown up, and it's been going on for years. People consider the damage to their small shops, while metro workers immediately begin the task of cleaning up. The trains will start running in a few hours. Ukrainians are exhausted by this continuous war and the constant threat. They aren't getting used to it. They've learnt to endure it, day in and day out. They peer out of their apartment windows, looking at the destruction around them. This was a massive Russian missile attack. In just 1 hour, over 40 ballistic missiles were fired. And these are civilian homes. These are civilians waiting for help from the authorities. We could barely see a window not broken or an apartment not damaged. All around, municipal workers and volunteers doing their best to clear up and set life going again. It seems miraculous, but 1 person was killed in this attack. But it's not a miracle, really. People heed the warnings and get as low down as possible every night. Rows of cars have been damaged in the attack. They're wrapping them in plastic to keep them safe while they work out what to do next. Amongst them is Boris. Given the night he and his family have just had, I was amazed at his composure and, yes, again, his resilience. Where were you last night when it happened?
We were on our flat on the 18th floor, and later, when the first missiles hit the ground, we tried to move underground, but unfortunately it was quite hard because a lot of glasses, a lot of missiles hit like every few minutes. So we sit on the first floor, and like later we will manage to move to the parking.
As they work to clear the roads and the bomb site, and as they reopen the metro, the market traders are back, selling their fruit and vegetables. Normal life has resumed. A scene of perfect normality.
Well, this year Kyiv's been hit more than it's ever been hit since the war began, and the question one asks is why. It's quite simple, really. Ukraine has developed long-range drones. They go up to 3,000 kilometers. They can hit Moscow. They can hit St. Petersburg. They can go after supply lines. They can go after oil refineries, and that's causing chaos. So Russia is hitting back at Ukraine, and it's aiming to hit the capital. Ukraine is a real problem. It doesn't have enough Patriot missiles or enough interceptor missiles to stop these ballistic missiles coming through, and that's what the Russians have been using. And there's every indication at the moment that this is just going to go on and on. And these are residential areas, so people will, I'm told, go back into their flats if they can. But a lot of these buildings are now, impossible to live in, really. And some of them, as you see, are completely destroyed.
With both sides increasing their attacks, the inevitable consequence is that this war is escalating. Russia with missiles, Ukraine with drones. In a secret location, we're guided into the heart of a drone-producing factory. There are many others like this across Ukraine, but this is the heart of the country's deep strike drone war effort. And it's relentless. The energy levels are remarkable. Technicians, carpenters, welders, assemblers, scientists, all working to maximize production of a weapon that's changing the shape of the war with Russia.
Well, we may be 4 years into this war, but there's a real sense of urgency that production just has to keep going, it has to keep increasing. This is like really old-style war effort with everyone joining together and taking part. They want to get these drones up to the front line, and they want to attack Russian positions.
Each part of the drone is constructed in separate sections before they're finally put together. Much of this facility is underground. We can't show the faces of the workers or hear their voices. We can't film certain walls or anything that can identify where we are. Any breach in security could be fatal and could slow production down.
The company can produce more than 200 of these drones every single day. What is interesting is that they say they can actually increase that production significantly. It's all about funding. A lot of that money comes from the international community, it comes to the Ministry of Defence, and then they decide where the money is allocated. The real key to this war is trying to keep these drones as cheap as possible and producing as many as possible.
This is the long-range drone fresh off the production line. With its explosive payload, the FP-1 can fly 3,000 kilometers to hit targets deep inside Russia. It's accurate to 2 or 3 meters and costs about $60,000 to produce. Dennis Stillerman is the co-founder and chief designer for the company that produces these drones. For Dennis, the war against Russia is about the survival of Ukraine as a nation.
This war, the real game changer, is the will of our nation and the will of European nation. If Europe decide we must finish with the Russian Empire, we can do it like very quickly.
Are you very proud of what you do here? I got the sense of the guys working that they're very proud of what they're doing. Are you?
Yeah. Oh, I don't know. I'd be proud when we demolish the Russian Empire.
If Kyiv is the capital under attack, the nation's second city, Kharkiv, near the border with Russia, is a city on the actual front line. Missile and drone strikes here are a constant day and night. The threat level from first-person view drones, FPVs as they're known because someone's actually guiding the weapon, is so great that they're encasing the city's ring road in drone nets. Mile after mile of netting, protecting traffic. Up here in the northern part of Kharkiv, 20-odd miles from the border, the traffic thins out. The empty roads add to the sense of danger.
It's quite strange driving around Ukraine's second largest city on its ring road, completely surrounded by anti-drone nets. It's quite a feat. Now, we've seen it in the east before, but we haven't seen it around Kharkiv like this. Outside of the nets, we've been past a number of petrol stations that have been destroyed, but also shopping malls as well. But this is sort of where we're getting to when, as I say, the second city feels threatened enough to put up these nets.
Shopping malls and petrol stations are primary targets. They're doing what they can to protect them. There's nothing they can do to stop the rockets.
So we're hearing the alarms going now. You just ignore them until you know where it's going.
Постійно. Якби ми кожного разу спускались, то нам би не було часу працювати.
In war, the oldest and the youngest are always the most vulnerable. Its maternity clinic in Kharkiv knows all about danger, so just deal with it. Natalia Kaputsnik is the current head of the maternity wing of the hospital. For 40 years she's worked here, delivering 10,000 babies. Since 2014, when all of this really started, she has never left Ukraine. You can sense her resilience, but she's also very sad.
Знаєте, більше всього і я, і, мабуть, всі наші люди, ми переживаємо, що ми зовсім не чекали, що може настати такі часи. Що ми жили поруч, наче були нормальні люди, наші сусіди, а прокинуться о 5 ранку і навколо того будинку вибухи йдуть. Це було, я не знаю, мабуть, я ніколи цього не казала, але не було так страшно. Єдине, чого я дуже боялася, що я ляжу спати в місті Харкові, прокинусь, а тут руські. Це я дуже боялася. А все останнє, ми розуміємо, що важко, такі часи. Але нашим хлопцям на передовій набагато важче.
When the sirens sound, expectant mums leave their rooms and wait for the all clear in corridors. If it gets bad, they go underground.
Very beautiful.
Anna is just 2 days old, born during an air raid.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
For her mum, Irina, the joy of giving birth is tempered by the simple fact that her baby is a war child. From her first breath, Anna has been living in danger.
As a new mum, with this war going on, what's it like giving birth when it's in the middle of a war?
Ви знаєте, ми вже настільки звикли до цього життя, що, скажімо так, такі жінки сталеві. Тому ми вже не звертаємо увагу на тривоги, на якісь там ситуації, які кожен день відбуваються у Харкові, в Україні. Тобто по можливості зберігаємо спокій, тримаємося, тримаємо всіх в кулачок, мріємо, щоб все це скоріше закінчилося і наші дітки були в безпеці.
The birth rate has dropped dramatically, while the instances of complications during birth have risen significantly.
Well, despite all the bombings, the explosions, the continuous alarms, the threat of danger, life obviously goes on. But these are premature babies, and what's interesting about that is that we know that in times of crisis, in times of war, women give birth prematurely very often. The numbers have increased, doubled since the war began, of premature births in Ukraine. And it's just simply the stress of what it's like to live in a place that's constantly at war.
Across Ukraine, people are realizing that their subterranean existence is the only real guarantee of security and safety. And it's the same here. They're preparing for a life underground.
There is a real fear in Kharkiv that this war is going to increase and intensify, and that even more bombing of the city will take place. So this is going to be, if you like, the surgical section. It's been done up. It's pretty impressive stuff. It's designed for everyone to live underground for as long as necessary. This is for premature births. This is one of the first underground hospitals that's been built in this city, but we're told there's going to be many more, and many more in other cities across Ukraine as this war grinds on.
У нас кожна дитина в реанімації обов'язково має ім'я. Тобто, як тільки заходять у нас в реанімацію, мами приходять.
The war affects everyone in Ukraine, from the soldiers on the front lines to the people in every village, town and city. In July, more civilians were killed or injured than at any time since this war started. Sustaining life in Ukraine is now a national priority if this society is to continue. Because, for the first time, the mortality rate is 4 times higher than the birth rate in Ukraine. And the war is the reason. There is hope here that the war will end. But that is all it is. Just hope.